Hello and welcome to Blackcrow Gaming. I'm your host Arron, and I've got my other host here tonight, Toby, and we have a new look. We have a new intro, and we thought what better way to reveal it all than to have not only our sponsors, but also the guys running the next Super Major we're all going to from Glasshammer Game. We've got Dan and Manny.
Woo! Hi guys.
Yeah, evening. Yeah. Come on, I want some more enthusiasm, guys. Let's see. We can do that.
Whoa! Yeah!
That's why we pay Manny the big bucks.
Dan just sits there like a slug.
This is past my bedtime. He's got no kids. He doesn't have to get up till like 11:30 every day.
It's the good life. It's the good life. You just got to find yourself a business partner that'll do all the work. You know, some mug like this guy over here, and then you can just play toy soldiers all day. Great life. Great life.
You found the right
I mean, let's be honest. You guys are killing it. I watched the advert you guys did for the Glass House. That was sick. I love the.
Oh yeah, with the little van.
I loved it when you like launched a pot noodle or whatever.
You know, a funny story there, right? We actually did that. So obviously it goes off the camera.
Like
yeah,
after it split my head all down here.
Yeah,
it took ages to heal. It took ages. It kept opening up every day and bleeding.
It's right, guys. He asked for it. He asked for it.
He did directly request that you twat him with a pot noodle.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure I could take a pot noodle to the head, but they're quite sharp, you know. They are sharp.
What a quote there. Damn Bates 2024.
This is a sentence I never thought I'd ever hear. I thought I could take a pot noodle to the head, but they're actually quite sharp.
You know we're all going to turn up with pot noodles on the 29th now.
You'll go into A&E, Dan, and be like, "Oh, how did you get your head injury? Oh, I got pot noodled."
Oh, you know what? As well, it wasn't even a good. It was the worst one. You got twatted by beef and tomato, mate. You got
oh
my god, you got KO'd by the worst pot noodle.
That got the deepest. That did,
yeah. Wasn't it even like the good pot noodle? Was it at least a Super King or one of the little ones?
just standard, mate. Standard beef and tomato.
Standard basic bitch beef.
Guys, I gotta say it's great to have you both on here. We've had you both on individually, and that was great laugh. I was wondering what it was going to be like having like all four of us on tonight. And I think if this is what the start of our podcast is going to be like, it's going to be a very interesting evening. Obviously, we brought you on here for a reason. We want to celebrate you guys and what you're doing with your Super Major. So we're going to be taking a deep dive into your event pack, which I'm going to tell you now actually is excellent. I think the layout of your event pack is fantastic, and we're going to look into.
We've done enough of them, to be fair.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah, this is like rules pack version 17. Yeah,
you guys should be good at it by now.
Yeah, that's it. It's our first ever Super Major, but we have done loads of small events.
Yeah. And I feel like that in itself is quite a daunting task, isn't it? Coming in because you've got the expectation to sell, because it's a big investment. Obviously, initially, so you need it to sell, and you need it to do well. And I think so far you're doing really well. But you have got some tickets still remaining. Am I right saying?
Yeah, we've got tickets still remaining. Yeah, so if anyone wants to come, there's still tickets there. And Games Workshop. Just want to say, Games Workshop showed that little snippet thing of new rules coming and stuff like that. And obviously Dan through Glasshammer has. Have you heard when you're allowed to order them, Dan? Do you know that yet?
I mean, I've placed an order today, a massive order, and it is like they're gonna hopefully confirm it with me on Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've ordered it today, so it is going up for pre-order on Saturday.
Yeah. So when things go on pre-order, it's usually a 1 or 2 week pre-order.
Yeah. So 2 week one.
Yeah, it's looking like there's going to be potentially new rules at the Glasshammer GT Birmingham. So if there will be in, guys. So it will be the first Super Major using the new rules. So,
that is wild.
Yeah, get down, just whack a new army on the table, either your previous army, see how it does in the new rules, or a new army if you want. And yeah, it's going to be the first time you get to whack it on the table. Let's learn the new rules together, right?
So,
shit. I've been planning for all this on the old rules.
With this in mind, so let's...
Oh, no!
we've just let Toby have his little senior moment. Obviously, you've ordered God knows how many sets of this stuff, but if you want to be able to get this from them, and you want to get it at a slight discount as well, because you guys already do all of your products discounted. If you put in the Black Crow into the coupon code, does that work? Will it still work? The Black Crow 5% off?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It works on everything.
So if you put in Black Crow in the Glasshammer Gaming website for when you do your pre-orders, which hint hint, that's who you should be doing it through, because if you're not doing it through, Dan will come and he will hunt you down and he will
Yeah.
pot.
You're not using Glasshammer. You're dead to me.
He will beef noodle you. No, beef
You'll take a beef noodle to the head.
I'm sorry, but beef noodle to the head does not sound as PC as you want it.
Beef noodle to the head. Oh god!
Hey, baby, you want to come over and get?
I think you just need to change Dan's name to Beef Noodle. That's it. That is the beef noodle.
I would absolutely love to get you a Black Crow top with just beef noodle on there.
It's reminding me of Brooklyn Nine-Nine now. Like, have you seen that one where
Beef baby,
beef baby, with that little snappity crunch.
Oh my god!
beef baby.
Wow, what a start! So yeah, guys, as one of our sponsors, if you put in the Black Crow into the coupon code when you're ordering from Glasshammer at any stage, you get an additional 5% off. That works on their tickets for their Super Major. So if you're still unsure, you haven't got their ticket just yet, get the 5% off, a little extra, a little bit of a sweetener, just to get, a little bit of extra from. And obviously this night we're going to be going into the events pack. We're going to be going into the mission pack, and we're going to hear it from, two amazing players, how they expect us to play these maps. Now, obviously that's been flipped on its head somewhat, because it turns out the new cards that are coming are going to be in play for this tournament. So I think we need to rip the band-aid off, guys, and just go into the next scene and just start talking about it, because I need to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we need to hear.
Well, I suppose the important thing to say though is that we don't know what any of these new rules are. So we just know, because they're the pre-order, we know as a store, when the pre-orders are, we're allowed to order the pre-orders, we can kind of make an estimate of when they're due to release. But we actually don't know what any of them are. So I have got here the mission rules that we have in our rules pack, like the mission rules we're using, and also the primary missions we're using. So I will say that if any of these do change, because obviously they have previewed some in that article, haven't they, that one or two of them will change. If I will say this though, guys, because in the interest of keeping it simple for new players maybe who are coming to our tournament and it's one of their first few events and stuff, if any of these are still there, they will be the ones we use. They will be the ones that take precedence. So there will be the smallest changes possible made to the rules pack. Any of the primary missions that we are using that are still there will remain in play, and any of the mission special rules that we're using that are still there will remain in place. So we won't make big changes. We'll make the smallest changes necessary for the ease of everyone who's already bought a ticket, but it will still be new rules and stuff. So
yeah, I'm also not expecting them to be like with the deployment zones and stuff like that. We have a map layout for every
zone,
for every deployment type going. I'm not expecting it to be 6 new deployment zones. I think there's going to be maybe 2 new ones or something like that. So it could be like one of the games that we're playing, the majority of people are playing, end up being on a new deployment type and stuff like that. But as promised, with anyone who buys the Glasshammer train and stuff, the new map layouts will drop within. Well, we always say within 2 weeks, don't we, of release, so that you can use your Glasshammer terrain with the new maps and everything. But it'll probably be even quicker this time, because we need to get them out so people can see them, and obviously then we can use them at the Glasshammer GT.
Yeah. One thing I will say though is, like Dan said, we've got a layout for every single deployment zone. So if they, I mean, the deployment zones might not even change. We already have 5, but so I'm not even sure they will change. But even if they do, if there's slight changes, I think you'll find that quite a few of these maps will still work. So I think, I don't think we'll have a problem there. I think it'll just be very minor changes maybe on the terrain layouts, but other than that, they'll stay pretty much as they are. And we'll go into the reasons why the terrain looks the way that it does, and why we've designed it this way, and why we've laid the terrain out this way as well.
So let's go into our new scene. You guys ready? You're excited? Check it
Oh,
out.
here we go.
I'm ready.
And there we are. Look, it's worked. We're in our review scene. So in the review scene, we can then pick up the event pack. So let's have a look at the event pack first. Bang.
Oh,
Hey, look at that. There we go.
I saw a blank screen then, and I was like, man, that was a really big anticlimax.
and then I wanted to do it to a false sense of security.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Smash it out. So here we go. This is the event pack. So you guys have put an awful lot of effort into this, and you can really see with just how well you've done it. So obviously, if you went to the ITT, it's at the same place. It's right at the same place. There's no difference there, which is great. It was a great venue.
Just really easily accessible as well, right? It's just straight off the motorway. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at, because we're in the Midlands. We would like to keep our super majors in the Midlands if possible. We don't want to stray too far. We kind of want to keep everything that we do towards the Midlands, help out the community around us. The community that's always supported us. We'd like to run tournaments for them, really. So that's what we're going to do. And also, because we're doing the WTC stuff, WTC scoring, WTC FAQ, we're going to find that quite a few of the European lads probably want to come over to our events. I mean, we've got people from Team Luxembourg, Spain, and Germany who have already bought tickets to the event, and Team Belgium as well. So we've got, all these European players that want to come over. So we picked, one of the biggest airports in the UK, right? Like Birmingham Airport is literally right there. And, we're just off the motorway as well for anyone coming from anywhere in the UK. You come off the motorway, and I think it's like a 6 minute drive from the motorway to the venue. So
yeah, it is good.
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself, it's probably cheaper to actually, for some of these guys, to get an airplane over to Birmingham than it is to actually get a train from London to Birmingham.
Possibly, yeah.
As ridiculous as it sounds, it is, yeah.
People might think that's crazy, but actually, I reckon in some instances it's probably cheaper than for some people to drive as well, like with cost of fuel. So I think it's great. You've picked a really good place to do it. Like parking was great. You get there early enough. You don't have any problem with that. Let's go on to sort of the entry to the event, and then you've got over £1,000 worth of prizes up for grabs, which is amazing. And what I really love about this, guys, is that you've not just done cash. You've done prizes. You've done things that, like, as a hobbyist, I really appreciate someone giving me like a random prize over then just giving me a financial benefit. Because I think
exactly. You've got something that you can be proud of. You know what I mean? And you can take home and you can show your friends and you can display it in your gaming room or whatever it is. And you'll always look at it and you'll always have memories and stuff of it. Whereas you just if I gave you £200 and you pissed it away on a few beers and a McDonald's, then don't
worry, Manny's just dying in the corner. We're okay with that.
Can you hear that? Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Oh my god! So
Manny.
I'm literally when I do that, it mutes. Look, it goes red and mutes my mic. But can you still hear me?
No,
you can still hear me. Oh my god! That's never not worked on anything else. Quietly dying, guys. Sorry about that. But I mean, they're listed later on as well. Like when you get down further into the rules pack, you'll be able to see like what they are and stuff. So we'll get to that.
We will, yeah. So day event timings, pretty standard timings, guys, isn't it? Like you've got for the top 4, you've got the game 6 to see who's going to be coming in from the top. You've got pretty standard. You've given us a good amount of time for lunch, an hour, very generous. And we're not going to be finishing at 8:45 like the ITT. That was heavy. And you want all players left the hall by 8, which is great. So you don't want anyone hanging around really.
Do you know what I found? I've been to events and similar to the ITT and stuff like that. When they finish too late, the worst one was the one right down south, and we finished late and we come out and I was like, right, okay. I just want to sit down, have a few beers, have something nice to eat, and like kind of, you just wanted to, oh mate, you won't believe what happened to me, and all that crap that Warhammer players just chat all the time. And nowhere was open, was it? We couldn't find any restaurants. We couldn't go anywhere.
The Southampton GT, was it?
Yeah, something like that. And I was gutted. And then we ended up getting it was like it was like a burger or something like that, and then we went and sat back in the hotel room, and I had a warm bottle of Coke to drink, and I was like, this is not right. This is not why I play Warhammer.
Oh, you must have been so unhappy.
I was very unhappy. Yes.
I mean,
so we just thought, we'll get the round side a bit earlier, just 9 o'clock start straight away for round 1, just so we can give people an hour, and then you'll see as well, like the break between game 2 and 3 is also half an hour. So it's not like you finish your game and you've got to get to your next table straight away. You do have half an hour. You can go get a drink. We will be serving drinks. We have a license. We will be serving alcohol at the venue. Knock yourselves out.
Yeah.
You'll have time to go and get a drink. You'll have time to go and use the toilet. You'll have time to look at your next matchup. It's half an hour between the next round. I think it's good to start early for that reason. And like we say, you'll be out. Your round should be finished by 7:30. So should be and we're in Birmingham, so there should be plenty of places to go and eat at that point. I will say though, guys, if you're coming from far, if you don't live in the area, it's Birmingham. On a Saturday evening, it's central Birmingham as well. It will be busy. So if you are coming, I'd recommend, reserving tables in restaurants now.
Which makes sense. One of the questions I do actually have for you guys around the events and stuff. Have you got anyone coming to do like serve burgers and stuff at lunch, or is it people need to bring in some food?
Yes, so I am currently speaking to so Ken from the food truck that was at the ITT. He was serving the jerk chicken with the rice and peas, and also the like the fully loaded fries with the crispy chicken strips and stuff like that. I think everybody really, really enjoyed his food, and I think he's going to be coming and doing it. He said he can he could definitely do the Saturday. There's just a little bit of a question of whether he could do Sunday or not, but he's definitely going to let me know this week, and it should be himself coming. And we will just have the one food vendor because the event's looking like it's going to be around 200 players. And I think the 4 food vendors, I think the reason why there was 2 at ITT is because there's 350 players. Mm-hmm. And I think if there's up to like 200, they like to just be one. So, it's profitable enough for them to come as well.
Yeah, mate, it makes sense.
We did have a pizza guy lined up as well, didn't they? But
yeah,
they were being awkward, and then I tried that chicken at the ITT. Yeah, and I was like, yeah,
great.
This guy, that chicken is awesome.
You picked the right guy. That guy is excellent. So we'll continue to go down. So obviously, we've got the terrain layouts, which I'm going to bring out for you in a minute. But is this just like a little mini view of all of the maps here? Are these accurate, these maps, or are they just random generated ones?
Oh no, they are. So I've designed all of the terrain, and I use CAD packages and all that kind of stuff because that was kind of my past before that. So they are proper 3D CAD layouts of all the terrain. So
that is exactly what, from a mini version, what we expect the maps to look like.
Yep.
Which is excellent. I think actually, because we were talking about this from a combat perspective as well. It's not crazy in the open. There's plenty of line of sight blocking terrain. Those trees, just in case there's any confusion, just explain to people exactly what they are, so they know live on stream. You're telling them exactly what they do.
So the trees are forests. They are the green squares are forests. And basically, all they do is they give you cover. They give you the benefits of cover if you are wholly on.
There you go. So you need to be wholly on. Heard it from the horse's mouth, guys. There's been no.
Or if the line of shooting goes through or over them in any way, you also get it then as well. Okay. So if you're shooting through the forest for any reason, then you get it.
You get cover. Excellent. But we'll go into these in more depth in a minute, and we can talk about each mission. So the mission rules here, which I really like the way that you've done this. This is cool. I saw this graphic and I thought, that's nice. Because you could just literally quickly take a quick picture of that on your phone or whatever, and just have it on your phone in front of you, ready to.
That was the idea.
That is what we've done in our crow chats.
Yeah, in reference to that. So when you get there on the day, there will be a little booklet, and it has all of the terrain layouts, the missions, the scoring your game. So you can work out what your points are at the end of it, the WTC scoring. It has the timings. It has QR codes where you go and vote for best painted and all that kind of stuff. The little booklet, every single person will get it, and it's all there. And yes, I have already ordered them. And yes, it looks like they're already out of date.
Oh, mate, that is such bad luck.
I mean, they
But,
didn't they when they originally announced this pack, these new cards, right? They said they were going to be a while. Like they
yeah.
they literally said this was going to, like, everyone was like, oh, it'll be like September time, and then the next thing you know, they're coming out next week, guys. Like, what?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did kind of catch us by surprise. But I thought I was being all organised and stuff like that by getting everything done on my to-do list, and then it screwed me.
Best laid plans of mice and men and all that.
I know.
I just want to bring your guys' attention to one of the chat's comments, which is really funny. So, Chris Undivided, Toby, are you ready? Toby's use of dating apps is going well. 2 blokes from Grindr in one night.
If it makes it any better, I've just received a message from him that just says "finger them bitches." So not really sure.
Go on, lad. Go on, lad.
I think it's-
Yeah, you know, Manny's on the bottom though, right? Manny's definitely on the bottom.
I mean, it's a little sandwich. It'll be adorable. Little cuddle. That's the perfect birthday treat. But I mean, to be fair, that is kind of what I'm excited for in Birmingham, because obviously it is my 26th that weekend, and I'm
awesome.
going to go
Yeah,
out. So hopefully I'm not 3-0. That I will be.
There'll
But
definitely be a beer waiting for you.
Oh,
There's
cheers.
already a beer waiting for you on the side.
Oh,
it'll
that's
be
very kind, guys.
it'll be a really good laugh. It's like as soon as I saw it, I was like, right, that's how I could spend my birthday. I was like, perfect. It's only got better now that I bought the Glasshammer terrain and actually got to play on it, and I was like, holy fuck, I can actually hide on this stuff even.
Yeah.
I'm not my arse in the open, ready to get torn apart by Josh.
Before anything had even been cut out of a machine or anything like that, we said, didn't we? We were like, the ITT stuff very much sort of, the UKTC stuff definitely benefits shooting armies.
Yeah.
It favors shooting armies just that little bit, so we wanted ours to be, as even as we can. We want to give every army a chance, and so we've made sure there are firing lanes and all that stuff on it, but we wanted it to favor combat armies. That was the decision that we made right from the start.
Just be slightly, because this addition in itself, the addition naturally favors fast-moving shooting armies, and there's quite a few of them at the moment. So, if the addition already favors the fast-moving shooting armies, your terrain should slightly favor combat armies, and then you've got kind of like a nice balance, because fast-moving shooting armies will still be very good on our boards. They still get good angles. Believe me, me and Dan have both been trying Eldar and Tau and stuff like that on these boards, and they do still work really, really well. But combat armies also have great hiding positions and deployment zone, but also great staging up the board, which is what's, like, for example, the UKTC terrain, it lacks staging up the board for combat armies.
Absolutely.
That's
I'm very excited to play at this tournament, because obviously I favour a combat army. I've been playing a combat army for a long time, and I actually think I'm a Custody player, and Custodies have had a bit of a rough time, but I actually feel like these maps may actually help Custodies in some ways, because they still do absolutely slap in combat when they get there. They lack some durability, don't get me wrong, at the minute. But when they're in, and they do get in, they still kill things. They still kill what they touch. So I'm very excited to give this a go, especially considering just how disappointing the book was on release. And I think these types of tournaments where you are giving a bit more of an edge to a combat player, I feel like it does help the armies like that. Don't get me wrong, like the Orc Bully Boys list and things like that, that's going to be mental. But that's mental anyway, and there's nothing you guys can do about it. So we'll move on. So we'll go on to the scoring your game section, which I think you've done a cracking job here of making this really clear and concise. So for those that don't know what WTC scoring is, you would score your game like you do traditionally, so out of 100 points, but what you're looking for, the points are generated by the difference in your score. So as you can see here, they vary well. If there's a victory point difference of 0, it's a 10-10 draw. Nice and straightforward. If it's 1 to 5, 11-9, 6 to 10, 12-8. and you kind of follow it as they go along. I think you've done a great job of explaining that and showing people how you expect it to be. And I suppose that was your intention the whole time, right? You just want this to be as clear and easy for new players as possible.
Yeah. We wanted it to be a different scoring system to the UKTC. And naturally, we picked the WTC scoring system because, like we said, we want to attract some of the European players to come over because we've got a lot of friends that play for all the different teams coming from Europe and stuff like that. So we wanted to get quite a few of them over, and we thought the best way to do that was to use the WTC FAQ and their scoring system. The only difference is, you'll notice usually in the WTC pack, 0 to 5 is usually a 10-10 draw, and then 6 to 10 is usually 11-9. So we've just slid them all down one, and the reason for that is we didn't just want a whole bunch of draws.
Because there will be a load of draws.
Yeah, because there will be a load of games that people win by 2 to 3 points, and usually those are the best type of games. So we've decided that should be an 11-9 win rather than a bang-on draw.
Yeah, I massively agree with that because at the ITT I had a brilliant game. We had VT round 4 and I had a really good game against Jake, and I think I snuck it like 85-80, and it feels great, but then you're like, oh, I still drew.
It's a 10-10, yeah. We decided that's it. It's only if you get a bang on like 86-86, that's a 10-10. But if you get an 87-86, you've won. You've won the game.
Yeah, and like, let's be honest, that like you say, those are the best games, and
by far.
Especially when coming at maybe from more of an underdog standpoint, you're not going to beat a top player by like a clear number of points most of the time. But if you eked over a 1-point win and then it came out as a draw, that would be a punch to the balls.
Yeah,
it would be.
I mean, I will be very surprised. This is the thing as well. So you'll notice, obviously, the players could be up to like 300, and the top round is only played by 4 players. Now, the reason why, because most people, you do wins, and then you do random, but then usually the scores at the end, like people do it on your battle points, and usually that's not a great way of seeing your top cut, because someone who's had slightly easier rounds and just scored their 100 points every round just goes straight through. Now, this will actually reflect on that because we are also using VP, your points, the tournament points you've got over the first 5 rounds to see who makes the top cut. But I would be very surprised if there's more than 4 people who have got 100 points, who have 20-0'd 5 people. There probably shouldn't even be 4 people who have got 5 20-0s. I think this is very, very hard to do. Because when you start playing games...
Sorry, mate. The tournaments that we were running before COVID, we were running like 120-man tournaments before COVID, and we used the WTC scoring then as well. Because, me and Manny come from WTC backgrounds and stuff like that. So that's why we've always liked the 20-0 system. And I think we ran 2 big ones with that, and not a single person made it with 100 points at the end, did they?
Yeah, not a single.
We didn't have a single person on 100 points in both tournaments. Because as soon as even the top players, when they start getting to those top tables, to 20-0 someone is hard, really hard.
Yeah.
So that's the hope, in that you don't just end up with a bunch of people who, like now in some big tournaments, you can win 8 people can win all of their games. And it's just the top 4 that go through. So, and it's very, there's nothing really they can do about it other than, that's just how it's landed. So, and also as well, we find that the 20-0 system pushes people to finish their games, and it pushes people to go, this is what actually happened in this game, rather than, like kind of, I know I've won, just have whatever you want. I don't care. Like, I know I've scored my 100. I know I've won the game. Just put down whatever you want. People are playing games properly, and we can see what's happened in that game,
Yeah, no, it keeps it honest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, so here's the biggest thing as well I wanted to say about this is the main reason that we went with this scoring system was because it forces interactivity. Because me and Dan were talking before, when we first were talking about whether we should use the normal scoring or we should adopt the WTC scoring, we were thinking that the worst games are the ones where either you or your opponent has got an army that just goes, right, I'm just going to ignore you. If I just do these secondaries and I play my game this way, I'm going to get 100 points. You can do whatever you want. Your maximum's like 85. So I'll just play my own game. I won't even interact with you, and I'll just get 100, and that'll get me through because I've got 100 VPs. Whereas you can't do that here, because if you just concentrate on playing your own game and you get to 100 VPs, if your opponent gets to 85, you've only won by 15 points. So you've only won 13-7.
Yeah.
Even though you've got 100 points there, you've only won 13-7. So this scoring system forces you to interact with your opponent, because it's not about your score, it's about the difference between yours and your opponent's. So not only do you have to score high, you have to make sure your opponent scores low. And the way to do that is by interacting with them and trying to disrupt some of their primary game, some of their secondary game. And that's where I think it's going to be quite interesting, and we're actually going to get very different style games to what you see at UKTC.
Yeah, there was one thing that I was looking at the pack and I was like, right, supply drop on Dawn of War. And if I was looking at that at UKTC, I'd kind of be going, Christ, okay, that's going to be a weird game. Yeah. But I played Dawn of War on the Glasshammer terrain. So I'm a heavy shooting army, but it was quite easy for both armies to hide. And then on supply drop, that kind of big points difference that sometimes happens is actually that shouldn't be too bad with the WTC scoring instead. So like that was I think my one like reservation. So I think that's good to kind of see that put to bed.
Yeah. I mean, so there is something I do need to check with you guys, because there's been a couple questions in the chat, and this one's from Ditz. With the WTC FAQ, does that mean a token system for fighting behind walls? Are you guys using the WTC FAQ?
Yep. Yes, we're using the WTC FAQ. That means you cannot use I'm standing 1 inch away from the wall, so you cannot charge me with your infantry. That does not work in WTC.
Excellent.
Could you just sort of detail what people do need to do then to try and avoid that? Mainly, like if
so basically, I believe the WTC have released a new document now. If you go to the WTC website, if you just go to Google and you type in WTC Warhammer 40k, it'll come up with their website. And if you go to the gaming or the event links or the event gaming packs or something like that, there's a section about rules on there. And their FAQ is in there, and their FAQ is in there. Their base sizes document is in there. So if you're unsure what base sizes your models need to be on, there's a whole guide of it. And then I think there's a separate section now for charging with ruins and stuff like that. And if you look in that bit, it pretty much says, pardon me, if there's a way that you would physically make a charge. Obviously, you still have to be able to go through ruins. So this doesn't let monsters and vehicles fight 2 inches through walls, guys. I just want to clarify that. This is only for units that can actually charge through ruins naturally. So like infantry and beasts and stuff like that. And basically, as long as you make the physical distance required to actually get into 1 inch of the enemy, you would just put them on the outside of the wall, and you would count the engagement range as being 2 inches rather than 1. So your models can fight through the wall.
Excellent. Amazing.
So people can't intentionally block you, because I don't think that's what the Warhammer team wants. They don't want, the rules weren't written to intentionally block you from charging. So, I think the WTC have got a really good way around that, and we will be adopting that.
Yeah, it's cool. Again, it just forces that kind of interactivity, right? Like you have got to, if you're a charging army, you can interact with your opponent, stuff like that. It's not like to say as well, what I found, because I play Eldar, there's very little combat in it. There is kind of still still a point of lining a wall, say, because it stops your opponent, because when you've got 2 lines, so the second line has to be in base of the first unit to base, but if they're on the outside, I'm not sure. I don't think that second line can fight through. So it just means that you're thinning out their combat, but it means that their combat army can still get to you and do something, rather than I'm just going to sit here and just slowly get shot off the board because you line that wall there. It's an 11-inch charge, which I'll probably never make.
Because let's be honest, guys, this is what we were saying. This is one of the things that tilts the scales in the combat army's favor. Because remember, we were saying, the edition is a shooty edition. And let's be honest, that 1 inch away from the walls rule, that also favors shooting armies. They can shoot you, and then when you start getting close to them, they just line a wall and go, yeah, you can't charge me anyway. there's another turn of shooting for me into your combat army. So that's just like a feels bad type thing. But this tips the scales so that, you know, the shooting armies are still very good at shooting you. You'll notice as well the middle objective is pretty much out in the open in almost every mission. You know, you just get cover on the forest, but shooting armies can get great lines to those objectives. So there is, you know, it's still a 50-50, and we've tried to keep it as balanced as possible. But then we've put the WTC rule in so that you can't block combat armies from charging you.
Yeah, so when I was testing on it, I did see that quite a few of the maps have like a big X kind of on them for shooting armies, which I found like really, I mean, they'll always get cover against you because there's the central forest, but it's still like, unless they're on a 2-up save the whole time, you know, then it starts getting a little bit more difficult. But otherwise, it's really easy still to get those angles when you're kind of chilling towards the center. But when I was trying to push a flank, I was it's not like on, say, map 3 and 4 for UKTC, where you can kind of sit on one flank and snipe the other flank from a million miles away. Like I was that caught me out at first, and that would be something that, if you've not played on Glasshammer before, be ready for. You can't get the firing lanes from one flank as easily onto the other, so you do have to kind of commit your resources a little bit different, which I think adds an extra layer of decision making.
It makes your deployment decisions 10 times more important, because if you misdeploy something and then you know you realized, I'm 2 turns away from a firing line now. So it does make you really think about your deployment a lot more, I found.
It's because we have more of the large L's.
Yes.
And they really mess with firing arcs and stuff like that. And they're very nice to play around to cut angles, because you'll notice the large ones that are in your deployment zone are usually the ones that are, you know, all levels are blocked, but it's just a triangular shape. But then the ones in the middle of the board, even though the levels are open, it's a big square footprint, and the entire square is obscuring. So if you're sitting behind it, you can, you know, cut very nice angles as well.
Yeah. It's also nice as well, guys. One little thing, because we've got those big bases, the big square bases on, it really helps for vehicles and monsters and stuff like that, because this edition did kind of punish vehicles and monsters a little bit with their whole movement and things like that. Whereas what you can do now with your, you know, with your Hive Tyrant or whatever it is, you can stand just behind the base, and it's line of sight blocking. So, you know, you're not going to get blown off the board. But then, you know, when you want to start moving into and positioning and staging your models, you're just moving across a base. You're not having to go, well, I'll go 5 inches down this way and then like 4 inches across here. And you're like, okay, I've actually gone back 3 inches, trying to move 12 around this wall. You have movement options if you're clever with the bases.
Yeah, I also thought that, like, with the whole rule of like you've got to be wholly within if you're a vehicle or a monster, like that's a heck of a lot easier on the Glasshammer stuff. And like with those big L's in no man's land, you can lock down an objective quite easily with a decent firing line. Going on to that side objective from inside a building might be a little bit more spicy now that you can be charged a little bit easier. But I think like there's so many interesting dynamics to this.
Let's save this until we get onto the maps. We'll finish the event pack, and then we'll get onto the maps, and then we can really look into these maps designs. Because
sorry, sir.
You've done a fantastic job. Hey, this is the job of one of the hosts, right? You let the conversation go, and then when you're like, hold on, you're going into territory we're going later. We better rein it back in. So we've had a question about playing with intent. So before we get to that, we're going to talk about your prizes. Fantastic prizes. You've got first £200 of Glasshammer vouchers, a badass weapon, free event ticket. Excellent. Love all of that. You've got something to take home to remember with. You've got a free event, so you come to the next one, and you've got a good wad of spending money to spend at your store, which excellent. You've then got for second place £100 Glasshammer voucher, badass weapon, free event ticket. Then you've got another badass weapon and a free event ticket. Best in bracket is a little trophy, £28 voucher, a wooden spoon. I like this. You get a trophy, £20 voucher, and a free event ticket. That is quality. Very nicely done. Because then that removes any feel bad. Because if you do come last and you have a really crappy like matchups and you don't play particularly well, that just, you know, I think that's a fair trade because you're getting something out of it rather than just a spoon, right?
Yeah, I feel as though, you know, if you've been there all weekend and you just keep getting your ass handed to you, but you just keep going, right, okay, yeah, that sucked. What's my next matchup then? And you know, and you get there and you keep playing, and then you've stayed to the end, and you know, and you've applauded everyone who's done really well, and you know, have painted their army and stuff like that. Then you know that is the kind of guy that you want at your event, isn't it? Really, you know?
Absolutely.
This is in our opinion. We didn't do a most sporting. You'll see there. Because in our opinion, the wooden spoon usually is one of the most sporting players of the event because they have lost 5 games and they're still there battling all the way through, giving every opponent a fun game. So I think that's, like Dan said, that's exactly the kind of person you want back. And in my eyes, that is a very sporting player. That is one of the most sporting. So our most sporting and wooden spoon is kind of rolled into one.
I love that. One thing I really want to point out, and this is massive. You might be the only event I've ever seen put this much in. First painting gets the same amount as first and
oh yes. Oh yes.
That is
we wanted to
massive.
put a big we wanted to, because you know you see players who have put in, because this is the thing, if you're going to the event and you are trying to podium at the event, you will have put in a hell of a lot of work in your prep. And I would argue that if you're going to an event to try and get best painted, you sometimes have maybe put even more effort into that event in building and painting your miniatures, sometimes even making a display board, than the people who are trying to win the event. So if you put in just as much effort, you deserve a similar sort of prize. So we have decided to put just as much, you know, what's it called? Like just as much pride and prizes behind the painting as we have the placings. And we think that will really encourage, because a lot of the Glasshammer fans actually are hobbyists and they put in a lot of work into their miniatures, and you know, they come into the glass house and they show me and Dan some of their models, and some of them look like insane. Like I'd never be able to copy what some of these lads can do, and I think that should be celebrated. And I think that having the painting have just as much weight, that's the word I was looking for. The painting has just as much weight at the event as the placings do. So we've tried to reflect that in the prizes.
I don't think I've seen an event do that to that level.
Yeah. And the reason as well that we think this will work is because our painting voting is not just going to be the people at the event. So it won't just be the person who has the most friends is going to win this. So we've decided to do this properly. Because we're giving such great prizes away, we've decided to do this properly. Same way, if you're doing the placings, there's no way out of it. You've got to fight through every good player there. You've got to get to that top cut, and then you've got to provide the best 20-0 score out of the last 2 games to get those placings. In the same way, your painting is going to be scrutinized by a lot of people. So David is going to be running a stream at this event. So the rankings for the painting, the voting for the painting is going to be done on a 33%. And what's going to happen there is 1/3 of the voting will be decided by the players at the event. 1/3 of the voting will be decided by the viewers of the stream. So we'll be putting all the best painted armies on the stream as well, and people will get to vote through there. And then the other 1/3 will be done by actual people who we have chosen to judge at the event. So there'll be a 33% weighting of all the votes, and then there'll be a first, second, third off that. So you have to really give it a good effort if you want to win best painted at the event.
That's awesome. I take my hat off to you guys. That's a brilliant way of doing it. And I think if you're coming to this event and you are putting a lot of stock into the painted miniatures you do, and there's some guys who turn up with some beautiful painted miniatures at the UKTC, I think what a way to incentivize them, right? You could do crap all weekend, win best painted, and you've done just as well as the guy to come first. That sells it straight away because it makes it worth. I don't think there's even some painting competitions that will offer as much as that out there. So
yeah, everyone enjoys their hobby, in their own way, and that's all it's about, right? It's just about enjoying yourself. So, and that that's what we want to reward. Everyone's got they're into it for their own reason. And as long as everyone's having fun, then it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah. So basically what we need to do, Toby, is we need to get all of the 60 plus, 70 plus members of pros. We need to get half of them watching the stream.
Yeah, you need to get them watching the screen, and then attend the event as well, and then bribe a couple of judges,
Oh,
We'll be on our phones.
which is
straight in on our
quite easily
phones.
done, you know.
have we got the most representation at the event yet? I think we've got a few more going, but we did it at the UKTC with the most teams they've ever seen. Have we got? Are we the top of the most represented team there yet?
Yes, at this one you are actually. Yes. So you're like the top represented team. I think the next one down is Vanguard Tactics. Actually, Vanguard Tactics have got like 10 players coming also.
Oh, shit.
I really like
yeah.
Ship and Boxer. I really like
the
you guys, but fuck
placements at
you,
the
we're better.
No, I saw Ben Jones was coming, which I always like seeing him. I got to
Great lad.
spend a bit of time with him at the ITT. He's such a nice bloke. So it'll be nice to see some of the VT lads again. I know that Jake can't do this one, but he's hopefully doing one, I think, a little bit later down the line.
Mhm.
But yeah, nice.
I love the Vanguard boys. They're a good
Great
lad.
lads. Great lads.
So we've got some questions we want to talk about. So playing with intent. So one of the questions was, if say you want to play with intent, but some other person wants to play anally, what are you going in favour of?
So you know, if someone wants to play it, it's about you guys discussing it to start with. You know what I mean? At the start of the game, I always make sure that I do. I always ask my opponent how they enjoy playing the game, and I'm more than happy to play whichever way. You know, I have had someone say, because I've been doing it for a long time, I have had someone say, no, I want to play rules as written, timings dead on as it was, and it was one of the best games of 40k I've ever had. Like it was awesome. So, and it was Harlequins on Harlequins, and it was like I made mistakes, he made mistakes, but it was, you know, because it was we both knew from the start. It didn't matter, you know what I mean? Like it was still really good. So yes, you know, if a player wants to play, you know, very tight and very to the rules, that is how you play. You know, it's similar to kind of the old chess clock rule. So, but if you've not discussed that, even though we have asked everyone to do it, and I come over as a referee, and I'm asking what's happened, I am going to go with intent. You know what I mean? Like, you know, this person has that's what that sentence is saying there. You know what I mean? If it's quite obvious someone is going to do that, then I'm going to side with that person.
Cool. Yes, because it does say there, intent is considered the standard at the end, unless a player declares that they want to play strictly adhering to the rules. You like, you know, like exact moments and stuff like. But even then, intent takes precedence. So what I mean by that is, if one person says, I want to play the rules, bang on, straight down the line, we're just playing by rules, not just intent, then fine, you will play by the rules. But what I mean by intent will still take precedence is if you are both playing adhering to direct rules, but someone says, okay, I'm going to move here, my intent is to be completely hidden from this thing. That is your chance there to say, actually, mate, if I move here, I can see. Because if they've stated that their intent is to try and be hidden from this thing, and then you later on in your shooting phase go, oh, actually, mate, I can see you there, then you're being the bad sport there. Because they gave you the chance to tell them, actually, mate, that thing's not hidden. So I'm a big fan of, like, if you do something like that, in my opinion, you haven't won the game because you've played better than your opponent. You've won because you've diddled them out of a rule, and that's not winning in our book at Glasshammer. So, you know, that's what I mean by intent still takes precedence. Even if you're playing a tight game, if one of you's like, you know, if you're, and I would say the best way, guys, is always narrate your turns. Just narrate your turns. I always do. You know, like every game I play, I go, okay, this unit's going to move here, and my intent is to just be hidden from this tank. Can you please check for me? And then, you know, I'll get my opponent to check for me there. Like on my time, of course, because I'm trying to hide. But I'm like, could you just check for me? Is that okay? Do you agree with that? And I think that's the best way to do it. And then also, like, for example, when I'm moving things, I'll go, right, I'm going to stand here. I'm like 20 away from your unit that moves 12. So if you move 12, it's an 8-inch charge. Okay? And you let them know that that's what you're doing. Because if you don't say that, if I was to measure that I want to be exactly 20 away from this person's unit, I could measure that incorrectly. From my side of the board, that could be measured incorrectly. But if I haven't said that, if my opponent moves 12, they'll be like, oh, I've got a 6-inch charge. There's no point then going, oh, well, I measured it and you should have had an 8-inch charge. But when you're doing it, you need to say, you know, I'm going to stand here. It's 20 inches away. So when you move 12, it's an 8-inch charge. So I think that's the best way to do it, guys, I find, is playing by intent or playing strictly by the rules, both ways. Just narrate your turn. And I think that stops people having disputes at the table.
Yeah. I
Excellent.
do that all the time. And then when they move and they go, oh, it's an 8-inch charge, and I go, Phantasm, sucker. And then I roll a 1 and it's a 9, and then they roll a 10. But,
Yeah, but then you know that was deserved.
And this is why you got the beef pot noodle thrown at you.
Yeah, this is why I got beef noodle.
There's a reason why yellow cards follows that playing by intent as well, because playing by intent is very much, we are explaining the kind of person that we want there, and then instantly you will find out what happens if you're not the kind of person that we want there. So you will swiftly be yellow carded, you'll instantly lose your game, and chances are the next time you try and buy a Glasshammer ticket, you'll probably get refunded straight away.
That's fair enough. And it's worth noting, obviously, you've done, I think your event pack's very clear. We know about the paint score. This is standard everywhere. We know about WYSIWYG. If you've got any amazing models that you converted and you need to check, you can send that on to the events at Glasshammer Gaming. And, you know, we can tell that you guys are hobbyists as well at heart. So I think if people are coming with stuff that is coolly converted but is still in the right sizes, obviously.
Oh, yes, of course.
We don't want any of the Orc truck fiasco like we had at the ITT.
I've never been called a hobbyist before. I'm quite proud of that.
Well, look at your little face.
It's taken like 10 years to be called a hobbyist.
Yeah, just something I do want to say on that. So obviously, I'm an Orc player. Orcs are my favourite faction. I love converted models. I think they're awesome. So as long as they're the same size and things like that, and they always, like, you can still tell what the weapons are on the models and stuff, then that is not a problem at all. But I do want to say, you've got the painting requirements there. And the painting requirements are something we are actually going to ease up on here, guys. So those painting requirements are there. I will be putting up a post about this. The minimum is that your army's got to be fully painted, 3 colors and based. And it says unpainted models will be removed from the table. Now, we are going to slightly ease up on that for the event because we are using the new rules. So, we don't want these new rules to come out and they just invalidate someone's army and then they can't take what they want. So, if it comes out and, you've got a new army that you can get, but you can't get it painted in time, it's not a problem. As long as you can get everything built completely, it's not a problem for this event. I think we're willing to let that go for this one just because it's so close that the new rules are coming out before the event. And I think you'd rather not punish someone for wanting to play the new rules. So that's the way we're going. But that said, even though we're easing up on this paint score, with that said, so you will still get the 10 points is what I'm trying to say. You won't be minus 10 points around just because you didn't get your army painted in time, because we're going to ease up on that. But that being said, you've now seen how hard it's going to be to win Best Painted. So if you want those prizes, and remember, they're the same as the placings, they're worth just as much. You're gonna have to work extra hard, guys, for that Best Painted.
It's amazing. I love it. I think you guys you're building an event that is nothing like out there like that. I mean, there's several guys out there who are trying to do Super Major, breaking into Super Majors, and kind of just be something different to what Zach has done. And you guys, I think you've nailed it in the sense of, obviously the event will tell, but from the rules side of things and the way that you're playing, like, you couldn't get any different to the UKTZ event. And for me, I think this is all very positive changes. I like a UKTZ event. I think it's really good, but this is a really positive change, and I think will give everyone a really refreshed outlook to competitive 40k.
Yeah, because that is one thing I want to say. I think what Zach's done for the competitive 40k scene is amazing. It's fantastic. Like, there's so many people into the big tournaments now, and it's all because of what Zach's done so far. And I think his events are great. Me and Dan still go to all of his events. We think they're fantastic. But yeah, we find that, sometimes playing just the same version of rules over and over again can get a little bit, tiring and a bit stale. So we're hoping that introducing new terrain, new scoring, new FAQ, different advantages for different style armies, and it will just give people, like a refreshed outlook on 40k.
You've done great, and then we're going to continue going through this, and then we're going to get onto the maps. So chess clocks, that's a fairly standard rule. Marine chapters, guard regiments, craft worlds, etc. Doesn't matter what color you paint your army, as long as your army clearly states which chapter, trait, regiment, etc. you're using. This is great because our mate Corbin, his army is barely legal painted. I mean, it is, because he's living like, look, there's 3 colors on it. But at least he could get away with this. Missing in battle, I like this. if your opponent has not arrived in 15 minutes into the round, report to the ref HQ and you will be repaired. Is that going to be quite strict, or are you going to, or is that going to be a loose 15 minutes?
Yeah, so it's well, this is the thing. If you're 15 minutes into the round, you're going to come to the ref HQ, and there'll be a big sign for where to go, so you can't miss the ref HQ, and we will repair you. And this is because if it's any later than 15 minutes, you probably won't finish your game. And you shouldn't be punished in that way for your opponent being late. And also, we don't believe in people just getting a bye. That will be the absolute last thing. If there's an odd number after all of these repairs, then someone will potentially get a bye. But we don't really like giving byes away. And for that reason, we will repair you where possible. For example, if there's 4 people without an opponent, those 4 people won't just get 20-0 wins. The 4 of them.
Nobody wants to sit there for 3 hours and nothing and be I'm comforted by my 20 points. Like that's not why anyone plays Warhammer, is it?
You're there to have 5 fun games with toy soldiers, and that's what you'll get.
Yeah.
Talking about fun games, let's go into the juicy bit. Here we go. Look at this, guys. Seamless interaction. And now this isn't going to work. This is lovely.
I don't know. A star wipe, I think, would have really set it off.
That feels a little bit GCSE drama there, mate.
You know what? I joke about that, but I've got to get to work. And there we go. Is it going to work for me? Yeah, there we go. So
I've got to say, when you do look at these, it doesn't quite give it justice of how big the terrain is. Which only makes it better, I think, when you actually get on there, because it already looks quite a lot, and then you actually look at it in person, you're like,
I mean, this right here, this is dense. This first mission is dense. You could just see like the firing arcs just don't exist along that middle, do they?
Yeah, there's still some really good spots that you can get straight out of deployment zone across the map, and looking at certain points, but basically, I've always found
some of them are heavier, some of them are lighter.
By
nature, yeah.
I do think that's okay for.
No, I love it. I think it's great. I think your first, so Crucible Battle. So, what was the thought processor behind this map design, and what were you trying to achieve, and what should players be looking to do on this?
So, in my opinion, this is one of the better deployments from GW now. So we wanted to include this one twice. So for that reason, we decided to put good staging points in this one, really good staging points in this one, because, like we say, we want to favor combat armies. But you'll notice there, the big ruin that you have, the triangular one, you can hide a good chunk of your army in there, and then there's 2 good staging points from that ruin in the center. But it is only a small L, so it's not like you can go and stage massive units in there. You'll get like a 5-man with a character in there, So, it's balanced in that way. Anything bigger, you will get angles and be shot. But then you have the bottom one that's 2 inches on the board, the medium square, that's on an objective. Now, you can go in and stage from that side, but your opponent can do the same on the other side. But then you'll notice if you go into that one to stage, you're quite close to the large square in your opponent's deployment zone. So they will be able to attack you from in their ruin. And that's the kind of thing that we wanted. We wanted people to interact with each other. So yes, you can go in and hide and hold these objectives, but there's no 1 inch away from the wall rule. You will get charged from there. And this is the thing. There will be lots and lots of combats going on in this map. And that's what we wanted to do. But you'll notice, because you've got that large ruin that you can hide in, you'll notice the other large ruin, the actual ruin part of it, you can't go in. It's out of your deployment zone. So you'll be if you stand on the square, you're standing in the places that aren't fully covered by walls, so people will be able to get angles to you. So there's a great place to stage because you can go up to that wall, but you'd have to deploy behind the square, which puts you, even though it's an advantage for combat armies, it does put you quite far backwards to the close to the edge of the board. So that's how it favors shooting armies too. So this is the thing; it's like a balance.
But it's also as well, because what I find when I'm deploying on this map, I will wait. I'll think, okay, I know what I want on that ruin, that big square one in the top left, if I'm deploying in the blue. I know what I want in there, but there is a bit of a firing lane going down there that the opponent can kind of deploy and jump into if they go first. But some people just don't see it, and so they won't kind of deploy down there. And then, because if you're stood on that ruin in your deployment zone, it is quite hard to get that angle. So if your opponent hasn't deployed to get it, you can then use the ruin because all the bottom levels are still blocked out. There's no windows on the bottom level, you know.
Yes.
So you can still use the walls to block it, but it's adding that layer of tactics and stuff like that, you know, of kind of, okay, I know what I want there. I need to see how my opponent's deploying and react to it. And also you need to make sure that you're not giving them that opportunity to do that as well. It's making you think in the list writing stage of, right, okay, then I can't just have all this shooting stuff. I could probably really do with some little combat units to go and sit and try and defend these, you know, these little objectives that are hidden slightly by the ruins. So it's making you think in the list writing stage and the deploying stage, all that, you know, it's all that kind of tit for tat. And we are very much, you know, you try and separate, you try and give that person who's really put the effort in and is really kind of tactically minded, give them that advantage, you know.
Oh, I think this is a great map. I can't wait to play this one. I think
This is our favorite one. This is our favorite map. We think it's the most interactive. It's the one that forces you to interact with each other the most.
Yeah.
And that's why this one is twice. It's round 2 and round 5.
Yeah, it's cool. Let's go on to the next one, the Hammer and Anvil map. So you got
I love this one.
You've got it from two different angles. So again, it's not, you know what, it's not terrible for the combat army because you've got those massive L's in the middle there. And they are big, those L's.
Yeah. You've got a great staging place in there. Now, I will say, this is probably the one we'll talk about the least. It's a good map, it forces interactivity, but you see there is a large firing angle down the middle because there's just forested that you can shoot straight down the middle. So but then there are those massive squares, so you have to be able to use those squares properly. But also, we are quite in favor of, you know, infantry-based armies and things like that, and only having a couple of vehicles or monsters, not just full vehicle skew. And that's the kind of thing. Staging in the middle with monsters and vehicles will be really tough because those ruins in the middle of the board, only the bottom level is blocked. Mm-hmm. So the minute you touch any of those squares, you will be seen over the middle levels if you're like vehicles and monsters and stuff. But for one reason, this is the map that we're going to talk about the least, and that's because Hammer and Anvil is in mission 6. So there will only be 4 people playing the Hammer and Anvil mission. And that's because just, you know, when you're in a hall, guys, and you're playing in a tournament, the worst deployment is Hammer and Anvil.
Yeah.
Because your tables are edge to edge. We'll have enough space in the venue so that there will probably only be 2 to 3 tables in a row that like together. But if you're playing in that table in the middle, you know, it's going to be very tough for you to play Hammer and Anvil. It's very annoying. But even if there's only 2 tables joined, guys, half the people at the event will be unhappy in that round because there'll be the player. There'll be one player on the outside, then there'll be one player on the inside where the 2 tables are joined. Yeah. And it is very annoying to play Hammer and Anvil reaching over the table. So for that reason, we've decided it's only in for round 6, where there's only 2 tables left in the hall and they will be spaced out.
Fair play. So we'll move on from that one. Next one is your Dawn of War deployment. We touched on this a little bit earlier.
And so this is round 1.
This is you know, again, those
where
massive
no
L's
one's safe.
sitting in the, you say that those big L's in the middle, they're, you know, it's going to be difficult to get an angle in between like the triangle and the small L or medium L on the left here.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's a really cool place to deploy. That is because the ruin in the middle cuts it off, so you can actually deploy quite a lot there, and it will be reasonably safe.
Yeah, I've hidden quite a lot on this, but so I play quite tank heavy marine lists. I got like 3 or 4 tanks in the triangular L, like, and happily like fully obscured, like zero issues. So
we find the worst feeling is rocking up to the table with a model like Mortarion or Arron and getting blown off the board turn 1. Yeah. We really don't like that.
Yeah.
So for that reason,
Magnus.
Yeah, so for that reason,
No,
the
not
large,
no.
the
Whoa.
large triangular
Magnus did
angle.
everything wrong.
I'm going to stop you there. I have absolutely no problem with Magnus being deleted turn 1. That guy
Oh,
is
no,
a...
not with those
No.
big, beautiful
No.
wings, and he's
No.
kind of, and they're all like peacock feathered and everything.
Yeah, it just
He
creates
looks
a feel
all
bad.
cool and muscly, and then
He
like,
is a
a
nipply prick.
Vindicator tank sees his wing and just he bleeds
Only
to death out of
good
it.
Magnus is a dead Magnus.
Yeah, fuck Magnus.
It's because he turns off my saves and I don't have any.
But honestly, I've watched people sit and for hours trying to hide Magnus on a UKTC board, and you're just like, mate, you can try and twist that all you want, mate, but you can turn it as many times as you want.
very
You ain't
hard.
hiding it.
So there's been a
Yeah,
couple questions
yeah.
regarding to terrain. So we'll go into those. So how do land raiders and large vehicles in your maps? So how do they do? So many UKTC are heavily against them, meaning like in some UKTC maps, if you bring a super heavy, for example, or a large vehicle, they basically can't get them out of the deployment zone.
Yeah.
How you guys done that combated that with your maps?
Well, look at that. Look where the forest is.
Yeah,
you get 2
exactly.
land raiders through there.
Yeah,
The way we've done it is there are set ways that big vehicles can move. Because, like we say, we're in favour of the smaller things in 40k rather than the vehicles and the monsters. But we've made it as manoeuvrable as possible for those big vehicles. And that is the exact reason why you see those large L's in the middle. That's exactly the reason that they are the way that they are in the middle of the board, those large L's, is because the square base is just a square base. So remember what we said, you can hide behind that square base and then you can just walk over the square base in the middle of the board.
Yeah.
Like to the left and the right, those large squares in the middle, you can actually walk over those square bases.
Lovely. So there you go.
Okay. Help the maneuverability of larger vehicles.
At least you'll be able to actually use. You want to use big models. You want to use your really cool painted Titanic models. At least in this event, it seems you will be able to do so in some way or some form. Let's move on to the next map, which is Search and Destroy. This is one of my favourite deployments. I like this map a lot. This is a cool map. You've got a big staging large L there for the middle, which means combat armies can just duke it out in the middle for as long as they want.
Oh yeah.
Which is really cool. But also
another interactive map.
Yeah, exactly. You can put combat armies behind on those medium L's on those far objectives, and still get a good chunk of miniatures on there. Get a good amount of OC on there at least. And with the way that you've done the WTC ruling as well, they don't actually have to really come out if they're making people come into them at that point, which I think is really good.
Are they, Arron? They're making them come into them, are they?
Oh, Toby, you started on your grinder dreams, mate.
Dirty boy. Do you know what I like, right, in this map? Do you know what actually gives me proper tingles, sexual tingles, right? Is putting a Howling Banshee unit in the corner of that square, like in the middle, right? Of putting them right up against the wall and then rolling and going first and then going, oh, okay, then cool, yeah. You got 5 guys on your back home objective, and they just fucking bomb it across the table and die. I love putting a Howling Banshee in that corner. Really makes me happy.
So if we get you on this map, Dan, we're just like, you expect the Howling Banshees to come out.
You wait till you see the smile on my face when I play them there.
Very, very nice. It's you know what, you guys, it's a cool map. I'm really looking forward to getting on and having a go on these. I played on Glasshammer terrain a couple years ago, back in 9th, and that was down at Crossswords down in Plymouth. I went down to bit of a trek from Norwich, but we've got some crows down there naturally because we've got crows everywhere, and I kind of went down to go stay and visit, and that was a great tournament. So. Again, we can't shout about your terrain maps anymore because you've done a fantastic job. So let's move on to the next one, which is Sweeping Engagement.
Yeah, so this is the final one. Now, I think we've done something really interesting here, and I really wanted to do it because it's something a bit different. I don't think I've seen
This
in
was a
any other person's
controversial
terrain
one. This
map.
was.
I don't think any other terrain map has a ruin that touches the edge of the board like that.
No,
Yeah.
That's true.
you've got it touches the edge of the board. You've got the three no-mans are basically out in the open. This is a tough
Well,
map.
no.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. This is interesting.
Go on.
So any of you that have read the map pack will know that on this mission, there is hidden supplies. So that center objective is not there, and it splits into two that overlap the large L's in the middle of the board. So actually, your home objective is holdable while being hidden, and the two in the middle of the board, each of you can stage and hold them. But that's why the two on the flanks are out in the open. So it like we said, there's that balance between combat armies and also shooting armies. That there's two out in the open and there's two that will be hidden. We did think about that, guys, because like you saw in all of the other maps, because there's 5 objectives. The middle one is out in the open, but the other two, one of you can usually stage and hold it. So in this one, obviously they're out in the open and the middle one's out in the open. It looks strange, but the reason that is this is meant to be played with hidden supplies, this deployment.
That makes sense.
I remember when I first saw this, me and Manny spent a lot of time on the phone talking about this. And to be fair to Manny, he stuck to his guns and he defended it. And it also, the more you look at it, there's more things that you can do with that, with those objectives that are out in the open. So, not only are, the little kind of the medium L, which is kind of the one in the bottom right is kind of just above it. If you stand a unit behind that, if you look at the firing lanes that go behind that ruin, they're not existent. You can't draw an angle to that, so you can actually hide behind there and hold that objective. So there is a way to hold that objective and be hidden.
You've just got to cut angles. Yeah, that's
exactly. Yeah, but you got to cut angles. But also there are 3 ruins all the way around it that you could say put a unit in and then put one model on there and then hide the rest of the unit behind there. And it's making you make decisions then of, right, if I'm going to shoot that unit, I need to kill all of it, because otherwise they're just going to leave the model that stood on there. But if someone does threaten it enough, you can just remove that one model off it, and then you've got more units to play the rest of the game with. So you've got plenty of options to control it. It's just down to you to give yourself options to control it, if you know what I mean.
And in this one, I wanted to put a spanner in the works. So yes, there are great staging points on this objective. Great staging points with those large L's and stuff. But if you'll notice, there's not very many ruins to hide behind in your deployment zone in this one. Yeah. So we wanted to make it a little bit different. We don't want just people going, I'll just bring my combat army. Doesn't matter how big it is, because there's 3 ruins I can hide in every time. Well, not in this one. You've got the one large triangular L. You can hide a lot in there. But if your entire army's in there and there's 6 objectives on this board, it's going to be quite hard to get to those objectives after. So you will have to take some risks and put things tactically, deploy things last once you've seen where the main shooting threat to your opponent's army's going, all this kind of stuff. So a lot of thought has gone into this.
Deploying around the back of the big square that's kind of angled as a diamond, deploying around the back left of that is huge, because that's a massive line of sight blocker. But so they can draw an angle through the middle, like kind of if they come out. But they do have to draw that angle, come out into the middle to see you down there. So you have to kind of you could. That's a really massive space to hide things. That is, but you've got to know where they're putting stuff before you.
You got to take some risk. And also, you see that tiny little L that we've put in the corner, touching the wall, touching the edge of the board. Yes. So imagine you are the blue player and you are hiding behind your diamond. Right, if you could just point at the diamond, there you go. If you're hiding behind that, so just to the bottom left of that, if you're hiding in that little space there, just to the bottom, like below the diamond, if we could move the mouse to there, to the left. Yeah, so if you're hiding in that section, thinking that your opponent's majority army is going to be in there in the top right corner of the table, which is where the majority of their army will be. But if they go to the top left, now if we go to the top left corner and we just highlight it next to the small ruin in our opponent's deployment zone, if we could just go to there with the mouse.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, by the 3 inches bit.
Oh yeah.
No, on the top
side.
That's it. Yeah.
So if your opponent deploys, say, like a shooting unit up there and then moves past that small ruin, you'll notice the angle from there can go and see you hiding behind your diamond. So this is where we say, like, it's going to be key where, you know, how you deploy, which units you put down first, where your opponent puts their stuff, and then you can kind of wait for your last few drops and put them in key spots. And I think this map forces you to think a lot in deployment, which I think is very good.
I like this map. I particularly like this map considering what the list I've designed with my custodies to bring. You know how I said I think your maps have unintentionally given the codex that is custodies, which was a bit of a dumpster fire, a bit of a boost.
Yeah.
Just the fact that in Shield Host they can redeploy 2 units.
Yeah, that's huge on this. Yeah, redeploys are amazing on our terrain.
Is amazing. So you think just about every custodian player will bring 2 Caladiuses potentially, and to be able to be like everybody's deployed and then shift them straight out of the way of the firing line, or deploy them really aggressive. It's going to be massive on your maps. I think you've done a really good way of balancing in a way that armies that are probably towards the bottom of the meta at the minute, it actually gives them a bit more of a leg up, because I'm not 100% sure it benefits the guys that are at the top of the meta as much as people might think. But what do you guys think to that? Do you think it evens the playing field a bit?
I think it does a little bit, but I think the main thing is what we've liked to do here is, because the staging is great and the way that you deploy is massive, it means a lot, and where you stage means a lot, and if you've thought about it, means a lot. So what we've done here is we've tried to reward people that put a lot of prep in before the tournament, and they actually, you know, take some time deploying on our maps and seeing where they can hide. Guys, our maps are on TTS, by the way. So if you don't own a set of our terrain, if you do want a set of our terrain, it's quite budget. We're probably the cheapest set of terrain you can get on the internet.
And it gets even cheaper with the blackcrow code.
With the blackcrow discount. But then also on top of that, it's the maps are on TTS. So if you don't own one of our sets and you want to see how to deploy your army and things like that, you can get on TTS and have a look. So we've tried to reward people who go and look at this map pack and decide where they can deploy their army, how much of it deploy, how much goes in reserves, and where to stage. So we're rewarding the people who put the most prep in.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think you've done a fantastic job. Thank you for obviously going through all these maps with us. That's brilliant. We're going to take you guys back to the meta page. There we go. Hi. So we've had a little bit of a change. Is there anything that that we might have not have gone over that you just want to kind of tell everybody tonight as to what to expect from your tournament? Obviously, I know you plan on doing more in the future, and you can't reveal when. But how many should we expect for you guys to go over the course of a year? And do you think you'll ever get to a point where you start your own league like UKTC has done?
I mean, I don't think we would want to start our own league, because I think the league is already there. You know, the UKTC league isn't a league of Zach's events. It's a league where he's included everyone in the UK. If you run an event in the UK, you can get a token. So there's already a world league. It's the ITC. And there's already a UK league, the UKTC. So we'll be happy to be a part of that. You know, like if you come and do well at our event, there will be a token that we'll submit to the ITC to get ITC points, and also to the UKTC rankings. So if you want to do well in the UK rankings, our events are going to be some of the bigger ones in the UK, and they will contribute towards that same ranking system. And I think you don't want to have too many ranking systems in the same space, guys. It's it's about working together with as many people as you can. So there is that. And also, we also won't be going to as many events as Zach is doing. I think that it'd take a lot to get to that level. But I think we would be really happy if we could get one every other month. So if we could do 6 in a year, we'd be very happy with that for Glasshammer. So that is our aim. And I would like that to be 6 singles events. So in my head, the vision is 6 singles events and a teams event. So there'll be 1 singles event every other month, and then there'll be a teams in there somewhere. Or there will be 5 singles, and 1 of these 6 will be a team. So we might just stick to the 6, and 1 every other month, and 1 of them will be a teams format. Potentially even 2, depending on how well the teams do compared to the singles. Because, like Dan said, we are WTC based. Our heart is in teams. If it turns out that you guys love teams that much, there could be the potential where our events become 3 and 3. And that could be the first time you ever see that for super major size tournaments as well, of doing 3 singles in a year and also 3 teams, large events in a year. You know, the 50-50 split between singles and teams, I think, will be the first people to do that. But I think that's something that's definitely in the works, because we love team events a lot more than we love singles. I mean, we love singles because we just love 40K, but we love teams a lot more than that. And it looks like there's a large demand for teams now, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, and you just want a bit of variation on the scene. You know what I mean? Like you don't want the same thing over and over again. I think people are definitely starting to feel that a bit with it at the moment. So hence the reason why we were like, well, we could definitely do something different and introduce that. And you know, I think if we were to do 6 events a year, that is more than enough. You know what I mean? Like, and it'll, you know, it'll all be held kind of, you know, in and around the Midlands, because it's got great travel links and stuff like that. But yeah, it isn't going to go where there's just mental amounts of tournaments going on, because I just people, you just get burnt out, right? People just get burnt out.
I mean, us crows, obviously we're hitting it quite hard at the minute. There's typically someone from our team at all of the super majors that have been almost this year. I think we have had someone at every super major this year, which is mental to think that we've been able to achieve that. But I think there will come to a point where, you know, we will be a bit more selective of where we go. And the only reason that is simply because as a big group and a big team, you want to go where everybody has the most fun, right? I mean, we got 30 people to the teams. We had a great time at the teams. And I think if you guys are going to be pulling that many team events, I mean, you just have to look like the UKTC Hemel Hempstead one sold out in what, hours?
6 hours.
I mean, that just shows what the preference is, right? Like straight away.
Yeah.
I
think there's being a large shift now, and I think people are starting to realize it's because, like, the reason why me and Dan love teams so much, I think we both are the same thing here, that in singles, there'll be some games you go in and you go, oh, this match is pretty much just unwinnable. I've just got a bad matchup. Cool, it's unwinnable. There's no point even playing this game. But in teams, there's a lot less of that. Because even if you are, like, you will still get some of those games. But the thing is that the pairing process will be on your team to not put you in certain games. And, you know, each team can only have one of each faction. So if Necrons are the most busted thing in the game, there will only be one player out of their 5 with that army. So I think that's a very, very key thing that you can avoid. You can manipulate pairings so you don't get bad matchups. But also, even if you do get those games, because sometimes team will pair very well as opposed to another team, and they'll get someone into that, you know, that big winning game. But there is a point in playing it at that point, because your team, it happened this weekend at the Bolton Y event, guys. Army Reactor, who were last year's champions with the Duffy brothers, Tom Higginbottom, former Team England, and also Matt Robertson, one of the vice captains of Team England this year. That team, Army Reactor, they were the champions of last year, and they went into some games, and Matt Robertson got to play against the Green Tide, against Richie from the
Richie Ballon,
Richie Ballon juked it out to the very, very end, and he lost to Robbo CSM 19-1, right? And the team, TFG, beat Army Reactor by a point.
Wow.
And Richie's 1 point tipped them over the edge, because their team had 55-45, but you needed 56 out of the 100 to get over the winning bracket. And their team had 55, and Richie lost 19-1, and that 1 point put them into the win. So this is the thing. In teams, you play for every single point, because they can tip the scales. And they knocked off last year's champions by just fighting to the very end. And I think
there's some really cool moments in teams. And if someone on your team goes into a matchup and just like properly screws the pooch, and just loses miserably, you can just ridicule the shit out of them.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
really make them feel bad.
Because you win as a team, you lose as a team, but you take the piss out of the weakest player as a team. No, it's just good fun going with friends, isn't it, as well? And it just makes it even more of a social thing, because even when we go to singles, like Dan was saying, you know, we'll all go play our games, and then we'll all meet for dinner at the end of the night, at the end of the day, you know, end of Saturday, and we'll talk about our games throughout the day and how they went and this and that and the other, and we're all happy for each other's wins, you know, to kind of help each other learn from the losses and stuff like that. But that is just amplified when you're playing teams, because you'll all be like, right, where did our round go right, or where did our round go wrong? What can we learn from this? But it's more of an all-inclusive thing, and I think that it makes even more camaraderie between your team, and I think that's the way to play 40k, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, look, guys, it's been, again, a pleasure having you on. It's a pleasure to have you as our channel sponsor, our team sponsor, and we can't wait to see you guys at the Glasshammer Super Major in Birmingham at the end of the month. And just once more, there are still tickets available, so if you watch this and you listen to all of this and you think, you know what, actually I want to go try a GT, I've never been to one before, this is a GT that is suitable, although suitable for newcomers. I think you guys have made it very, very accessible to players at every standard, and I commend you to that, because you've done a fantastic job. If you want to come and you know you're probably going to go 0 and 5, but you're going to be the best painted, remember, best painted gets just as many accolades as first place, second place, and third place. So, you know, it's all for play for in every aspect of the hobby. Just for those who might consider just coming for the painting side of it, guys, you said that it's going to be 3 aspects to judging. What parts are you just going to be judging them on painting? Are you going to be judging them on conversion? Are you going to be judging them on diorama? Like, what are you going to be looking for? Can you give them an idea for that?
It's effectively, you know, we're going best painted, but you've got to remember that it is effectively it's a coolest army reward, because it is going, you know, there are the players at the event are voting. There are then, you know, a third of it is people on social media and the stream voting and stuff like that. It's you know, whatever army just proper, you know, has that X factor and jumps out at people and they go, yeah, that one is the best. You know, that's what they're going to be voting for, isn't it, really?
Excellent. Thank you very much, guys. Look, we just want to say a big thank you. If you've enjoyed what you've seen tonight, obviously, and you want to get your ticket, go to Glasshammer Gaming, go to their website, put in the blackcrow code. You can get 5% off everything that you buy from them, including their tickets. I know I've said it a bunch tonight, but honestly, that helps these two wonderful people at the bottom here continue to throw great events, continue to do things for the community, and to continue to grow. If you want some... And it was that. Oh yeah, and it feeds his family as well.
Feeds the dog.
Feeds the dog. Yeah, and you know what? We've got to keep him fed, but just maybe avoid the beef.
Look at this family man over here, bloody hell! Nah, that money fuels the stang, baby.
Yeah, you're only getting 4 miles to the gallon. You got to sell some toy soldiers, you know what I mean?
We're talking cars, mate. I saw yours at the ITT. I don't think you can throw any stones at anyone else over buying a car.
Right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We've been Arron and Toby. We've been blackcrow Gaming. Cheers, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.